Well, hi there. So I hear you want to get your shoulder tattooed. I'm here to talk to you about whether or not it's a good idea. I think shoulder tattoos are a great place to start getting tattooed and a great place to just get tattooed in general. I think getting your shoulder tattooed still allows you to decide if you want to be heavily tattooed or not. You can feel out if you really like having that tattoo, or if that's it for you. You can decide to stop there, and not a lot of people really know you have it, because on a day-to-day basis, your shoulders aren't out. In most professional settings, this tattoo will be invisible, because especially in like the service industry or just like services in general, like if you're a waiter, a waitress, you're a makeup artist, hairdresser, tattoo artist even, but I don't think you'd be watching me if you were. Your armpits need to be covered in almost all of those jobs legally. So I would assume if your armpits need to be covered, your shoulders would also be covered, unless you really want to show them off, and then you'd have to like intentionally wear a cold shoulder top or something. And this is a tattoo that you can have on show if you want, and this is also a tattoo that no one will know about. You can have this tattoo be completely invisible to everybody, which also means this tattoo will last you for a while. So overall, this tattoo gets a score of 2.8 out of 5. It's a pretty middle ground tattoo. To help decide if getting a shoulder tattoo is right for you, we have our 5 categories: handleability, care, longevity, visibility, and upfront costs. For handleability, we give shoulders a score of 3 out of 5. This is going to be a tattoo that's relatively easy to sit for, with some areas that get a little more painful than others. And of course, depending on how big you get it, will depend on how close you get to the areas that get really sensitive. When you get close to your armpit, or you get close to like the little fatty bit in the back of your arm, even when you get closer to your neck, things like that, shoulder blades, that's when it's gonna get more painful. But I would say like dead center of your shoulder, it's gonna be very easy to sit for. And you're probably going to be in one of the most comfortable positions that you're ever gonna be in for getting a tattoo. For a lot of tattoos, you end up getting put into these crazy positions that end up getting very uncomfortable over like long periods of time. Obviously, if you're sitting for a 20-minute tattoo, the position doesn't really matter so much. But when you have to twist your arm a certain way or keep your arm up for extended periods of time, like from upwards of like 1 hour to 6 hours, it's gonna get uncomfortable. And this tattoo, you're not gonna have that problem, because for the most part, you're gonna be sitting in a chair and just have your arm resting on an armrest. That's it. Super simple. You might have to twist your arm forward or back every once in a while, but for the most part, this is a tattoo you could probably sit for like an hour, 6 hours, and still be comfortable. Your butt might fall asleep, but that's probably the least of your problems at this point. For care, we also give shoulders a score of 3 out of 5. Taking care of this tattoo should be incredibly easy. It's an easy area to access. You can see it without a mirror. The only thing is, cleaning it in a shower is gonna be like the only way I would recommend going. Cleaning it in a sink is going to be a pain in the butt, because you're just gonna get water everywhere. Unless you have a really deep slop sink, I would not clean this tattoo in a sink, because you're gonna get water all over the floor, you're gonna get it all over the counter, you're gonna get it all over the side of your body. It's just not gonna be a good time. You're gonna make a mess and waste a lot of water. So just go in the shower when you're gonna clean this tattoo. You only need to clean it twice a day, so you don't have to do a full body shower just because you're in the shower cleaning this thing. You're just gonna be wet when you're done, which is really not a big deal. So you have to clean this in a shower, so you cannot clean this at work. But for the most part, you're not really going to be getting this tattoo dirty throughout the day, so you're not going to feel like you need to wash it before moisturizing it, because you could just cover it with a t-shirt, cover it with a long sleeve shirt. Like what I'm wearing right now would be perfect because it's nice and loose and it covers it. So if you have to go to work with this tattoo, just cover it up, and then when you need to, go into the bathroom and take your shirt off and just moisturize it. Make sure you wash your hands first, of course. Moisturizing it should be super easy. especially if you can be home for this tattoo, for the healing, just make sure you wear a tank top or something that once you moisturize it, you're not going to be sticking to your clothing, because once you moisturize anything on your body, any kind of healing tattoo, whatever clothing you have on top is going to stick. When I got my Back to the Future tattoo, I had to constantly fix my shirt because I felt it sticking, and if you let it stick too long and your tattoo's still bleeding or still oozing or whatever, you're gonna end up like kind of fusing to your shirt. I slept overnight in a hoodie the first night with my shoulder tattoo, and boy oh boy did that thing stick. I had to peel my shoulder off of my hoodie, and when I took my hoodie off, there was an imprint of my entire tattoo inside the hoodie. That's how fused I was. And because I was too tired, I did not care about doing it properly. So here we are. Well, here we are. My tattoo healed fine. It didn't actually affect me. It just hurt really bad. But it can potentially pull out ink if you end up scabbing to it. So just be aware, just throughout the day, make sure you're not sticking. All I did was like feed my arm through my shirt and just kind of like fiddle around with my sleeve. It's not really a big deal, just make sure your hands are clean when you do it. For longevity, we also give shoulders a score of 3 out of 5. Longevity is obviously always going to be determined on your exposure to the sun overall. If you're lucky enough to live in California and you're always at the beach or you're always outside just taking in the sun, none of your tattoos are going to last. If you live in an area that has all of the seasons and a reasonable temperature, this tattoo is going to last you pretty much forever, and it's going to look good for most of that time. I would highly recommend that if your shoulders are always out, especially in the summer, make sure that you put sunscreen on this tattoo. This is like a high point, obviously, so it's always going to get hit directly by the sun if your shoulders are not protected by clothing. You're always going to be wearing like a t-shirt or a long sleeve shirt. I think that's generally just what's comfortable. For longevity, your shoulders are almost never out. If you're wearing a tank top all the time, just make sure you put sunscreen on them because they are high points of the arm. For the average person, most of the year, your shoulders are going to be completely covered. No one's even going to know you have this tattoo, and the sun's not really going to be touching it because it's always going to be protected by something. That's really it. For visibility, shoulders get a score of 2 out of 5. For the most part, no one is going to know you have a shoulder tattoo. Depending on how big you get this piece, will depend on how often it gets shown. So the further down you get it, the more likely it's going to be shown out of a t-shirt. The more high up you get it, the more it's going to show out of a neckline. The more you'll limit yourself. If you have to hide this tattoo, the more you'll limit yourself based on on what you can wear. So really, this tattoo isn't going to be seen unless you're intentionally trying to show it off. Of course, tank tops, they're going to be out. Bathing suits, it's gonna be out, but how often are you really in those things? I think evaluate that for yourself. If you're always a tank top or bathing suit wearer and you need to not have this tattoo, don't get this tattoo because it's gonna be seen. However, if it's just something that you don't want to be seen maybe at the workplace, then get this tattoo because no one's gonna know you have it. No one's gonna see your shoulders because in most jobs, you have to have your armpits covered at least. So you're pretty much good. In school, you can, if you have a dress code, this tattoo won't be seen. Like I got my first tattoo my senior year of high school. So if for whatever reason tattoos aren't allowed in your high school, you're still gonna be covering this tattoo just because of normal school dress codes. So I would say don't write this tattoo off because it seems like such a visible tattoo. Like in my head, shoulders seem like a very visible tattoo, like arms feel like very visible tattoos, anything on the arms, but it's really not because for me at least, I'm always wearing t-shirts or long sleeve shirts like hoodies and things like that. I would really only be concerned maybe from your family or like at the beach. That's something you're worried about. Shoulders get a score of 3 out of 5. Once again, this tattoo, like any tattoo, depending on how big you get it, will directly reflect the price. I think for a shoulder, you can get very easily you can get a flash piece, or you can get a custom piece. I would just recommend kind of capping it off at the top of your shoulder, especially if this is a tattoo that you don't want to be visible all the time. The higher up you get it and the lower down you get it, just the more likely it is to be seen. If this is kind of a tattoo that you want to kind of marry your sleeve into like a chest piece or a back piece, absolutely, you can creep up into whatever direction you want to, which I think is really cool. So if you already are working on a bodysuit, your shoulders might be a great place to kind of connect everything. So for me, like, each individual tattoo is going to be cheaper, but at the end, overall, of course, it's going to cost the same amount as any other bodysuit. This tattoo can cost as much or as little as you're kind of willing. You can always alter the size depending on your budget. I don't think you need to try and save too much money. I don't think you're gonna be in need of saving like thousands of dollars for this tattoo, unless of course you're going to like a world-renowned artist. So this is pretty middle ground for a tattoo because it's your average size tattoo. It's like a palm size to hand size tattoo depending on how big your shoulder is. And yeah, so goodbye!